She brought him porridge every night, never knowing the dying man in apartment 4C had once made grown men weep with a single phone call. Mara Ellis climbed those stairs in her cook's uniform, carrying warmth to someone she thought had nothing, while Dante Vale, bleeding out from betrayal, wondered why this stranger cared if he lived or died. By the time she learned his real name, her sister was already gone, her mother was dying, and the most dangerous man in Chicago had decided she belonged to him. If you want to see how a bowl of porridge brought a monster to his knees, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The porridge was always too hot. Mara Ellis learned that on the third night, when the man in 4C flinched as she set the bowl on the crooked nightstand beside his mattress. Not from pain, though God knew he had enough of that, judging by the sweat soaking through his shirt and the way his breathing hitched every time he moved, but from surprise. Like he'd forgotten what it felt like to be handed something warm. "You're going to burn your mouth if you eat it now," she said, pulling her coat tighter. The heating in this building had been broken since October, and it was almost Thanksgiving. "Give it 10 minutes. He didn't answer. He never did. Just watched her with those dark eyes that seemed too alert for someone who looked half dead, tracking her movements as she straightened the thin blanket over his legs and picked up yesterday's empty bowl from the floor. Mara had found him 3 weeks ago, purely by accident. She'd been taking a shortcut through the 4th-floor hallway after her shift at Rossi's, 14 hours on her feet, her lower back screaming, her fingers still smelling like garlic and fryer oil, when she'd heard something crash behind 4C. Not her business. Nothing in this building was her business, except keeping her head down and her rent paid. But then she'd heard the groan. Low and ragged, the kind of sound that meant someone was either very drunk or very hurt, and she'd made the mistake of stopping, of pressing her ear to the door, of knocking. "Hello? You okay in there?" Silence. Then, "Go away." His voice had been rough, abraded, like he'd swallowed glass. And maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe it was the fact that she'd spent the last 16 months watching her mother fade in a bed across town and knew exactly what slow dying sounded like. But Mara had tried the doorknob. Unlocked. She'd pushed it open. The apartment had been gutted. No furniture except a stained mattress on the floor, no curtains on the windows, no food in the kitchen. Just a man slumped against the far wall, one hand pressed to his side where his shirt was soaked dark, his face the color of old newspaper. "Jesus," she'd breathed. "You need a hospital." "No hospitals." He'd lifted his head, and even half-conscious, he'd radiated something that made her instincts scream run. Authority, danger, the kind of presence that didn't belong in a $700 a month rat trap. "No police? No one." "You're bleeding." "I'm aware." "Then let me get out." Not a request. A command, delivered in a tone that probably worked on most people. Mara had hesitated in the doorway. Every rational part of her brain telling her to leave, to forget she'd seen anything, to go home to her own problems. She had plenty. Her mother's medical bills, her sister Lena's radio silence, the loan shark who'd started leaving messages at Rossi's, asking when the Ellis family planned to settle their accounts. But this man was dying alone in an empty room, and something about that felt fundamentally wrong. "I'll bring you soup tomorrow," she'd said. "Don't bleed to death before then." She'd closed the door on his stunned expression. That was 3 weeks ago. Every night since, she'd climbed these stairs with a container of whatever Rossi's hadn't sold that day. Minestrone, wedding soup, chicken and rice. And when they ran out of soup, she started making porridge at home. Cheap, filling, easy to eat even when you looked like you wanted to die. He never thanked her, barely spoke at all actually. But the bowls were always empty when she came back, and he was still breathing, so she kept coming. "You got a name?" she asked now, watching him stare at the porridge like it might explode. "Does it matter?" "I guess not. I've been calling you 4C in my head." Something flickered across his face. Amusement, maybe. Hard to tell. "Creative. I'm a cook, not a poet." She moved toward the door. "There's crackers in the bag and some ibuprofen. I know it's not enough for whatever's wrong with you, but it's what I could afford." "You don't need to eat." "I know I don't need to. I'm doing it anyway." She paused with her hand on the doorknob. "You should see a doctor. Whatever you're running from, it's not worth dying over." "You have no idea what I'm running from." "You're right, I don't. But I know what dying looks like, and you're halfway there. She left before he could respond. The November air hit her like a slap when she stepped outside, cold enough to make her eyes water. The bus stop was 2 blocks away, the sky already dark even though it wasn't quite 6. Chicago in winter. Everything frozen, everything gray, everyone moving fast with their heads down and their shoulders hunched. Mara pulled out her phone as she walked, checking for messages she knew wouldn't be there. Nothing from Lena, nothing from the hospice center. Just a text from a number she didn't recognize. Payment overdue. You have 48 hours. Her stomach dropped. She'd been dodging Leo Marino's calls for 6 weeks now, ever since her father's debt had somehow become her debt, passed down like a shitty inheritance when he drunk himself to death last spring. $15,000. Money she didn't have, would never have, not on her salary. It's handled, Lena had told her in September, during their last real conversation. I talked to some people. We're good, except they clearly weren't good, because Leo's guys were leaving messages at Mara's work and her mother's hospice, and now apparently they had her cell number too. She deleted the text, tried not to think about what 48 hours meant. The bus was late. She stood at the stop with 6 other people, all of them strangers, all of them wrapped in their own private miseries. A woman in scrubs who kept yawning, a teenager with headphones on, head bobbing, an old man muttering to himself. Normal people. People with normal problems. Not like 4C with his gunshot wound. She was pretty sure that's what it was, even though he'd never confirmed. And his refusal to seek help, and his eyes that looked at her like he was cataloging every detail for some purpose she couldn't guess. The bus wheezed up to the curb. Mara climbed on, swiped her card, found a seat near the back, pressed her forehead against the cold window and watched the city slide past. Pawn shops and liquor stores and churches with boarded windows. Beauty salons and corner markets and buildings tagged with graffiti she couldn't read. This was her Chicago. Not the one tourists saw, with the bean and the lake and the fancy restaurants along Michigan Avenue. This was the other city, the one underneath, where people like her lived paycheck to paycheck and hoped nothing went wrong because there was no safety net, no backup plan, no rich uncle waiting to bail them out. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, expecting another threat. Instead, call me, now. Lena. Mara's heart seized. Lena never texted, hadn't returned Mara's calls in 2 months, not since whatever conversation she'd had with Leo's people about the debt. She jabbed the callback button. It rang 4 times before connecting. Lena, where the hell have you— Shut up and listen. Her sister's voice was tight, scared. I don't have much time. I need you to stop asking questions about the money. What are you talking about? I'm getting threats. Someone just texted me that I have 48 hours to— I know, I'm handling it. How? Lena, what did you do? Silence. Then, quietly, what I had to. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Background noise on Lena's end, music, voices, the clink of glass, a bar maybe, or a club. Just trust me. Stay away from Leo. Don't talk to his guys. Don't try to pay them. I'll fix this. You can't fix $15,000. Neither of us can. I said I'll handle it. Sharp now, almost angry. Go to work. Visit mom. Live your life. Forget about the money. Lena. The line went dead. Mara stared at her phone, that sick feeling spreading through her chest. What I had to. What the hell did that mean? What could Lena possibly have done to make $15,000 disappear? Nothing good. Nothing that didn't have consequences. She tried calling back, straight to voicemail. Damn it! She shoved the phone in her pocket and closed her eyes, fighting the urge to scream. This was exactly like Lena, making decisions, taking action, then icing Mara out like she was too fragile to handle the truth. They'd been close once. Before their dad started drinking, before their mom got sick, before everything fell apart. 2 sisters, 18 months apart, thick as thieves. But somewhere along the way, Lena had hardened into someone Mara barely recognized. Someone who solved problems with secrets and schemes instead of conversations. The bus lurched to a stop. Mara opened her eyes, realized she'd missed her transfer. Shit. She got off at the next stop, started walking. It was another 15 blocks to her apartment, but she needed the air anyway, needed to move before the anxiety turned into a full panic attack. What I had to. Those 4 words looped in her head. She tried to imagine what Lena might have done. Borrowed from someone worse than Leo? Sold something illegal? Made some kind of deal that would come back to haunt them? Or maybe she'd done nothing. Maybe this was all bluster, Lena pretending she had control over a situation that was already spiraling. Mara walked faster. The temperature was dropping, her breath coming out in white clouds, her fingers going numb inside her thin gloves. She should have taken the next bus, should have worn warmer clothes, should have done 1,000 things differently. Story of her goddamn life. By the time she reached her building, a 5-story walk-up even more depressing than 4C's place, her legs were shaking and her face felt frozen. She climbed to the 3rd floor, unlocked her door, stepped into the dark apartment she shared with a roommate who was never home. The silence was oppressive. She flipped on the lights, cranked the space heater, peeled off her coat and gloves. Checked her phone again. Nothing. She made instant ramen because it was cheap and easy, and she was too tired to cook after cooking all day. Ate it standing at the counter, scrolling through her texts with Lena, looking for clues she'd missed. Nothing. Just Lena's increasingly terse responses over the last few months. I'm fine, stop worrying, I'll call you later. And then, eventually, nothing at all. Mara dumped the rest of the ramen in the sink. Suddenly she wasn't hungry. Wasn't anything except tired and scared, and so fucking alone it hurt. She thought about 4C, wondered if he'd eaten the porridge, wondered what had put that wound in his side, who he was hiding from, why he'd rather die in an empty room than ask for help, wondered if he was as alone as she was. Probably. Nobody ended up in a place like that unless they'd run out of options. She brushed her teeth, changed into sweats, climbed into bed. Set her alarm for 5 a.m. because her shift at Rossi's started at 6 and the bus took 40 minutes and she couldn't afford to be late, not when her paycheck was the only thing standing between her and complete disaster. Sleep came hard. When it did, she dreamed about debt collectors and empty apartments and men with dark eyes who watched her like they were memorizing her face. The next morning started the same as every other. Alarm, shower, coffee, bus. Rossi's kitchen, already hot and loud at 6:15, Giovanni shouting orders in Italian while the line cooks cursed and the dishwasher sprayed scalding water over yesterday's pans. Mara, prep the chicken. She tied on her apron, grabbed a knife, started breaking down the whole birds that had been delivered at dawn. Muscle memory. She'd been doing this job for 3 years, ever since she'd dropped out of community college to help with her mom's bills. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't even interesting, but it paid rent and kept her fed, and sometimes that was enough. Hey! Carlos, one of the line cooks, leaned over. Those guys were here again. Her hands stilled. What guys? You know what guys? Leo's guys. Asking for you. What'd you tell them? That you were off today, but Giovanni's pissed, says they're scaring customers. Mara's chest tightened. They came during service? Yeah. Around lunch rush, stood by the door, staring everyone down. One of them asked Giovanni when you'd be back. Fuck. She set down the knife. What did Giovanni say? Told them to get out or he'd call the cops. Carlos raised an eyebrow. What'd you do, Mara? Nothing. It's family stuff. Family stuff that involves loan sharks? It's complicated. Uncomplicate it before Giovanni fires you. He went back to his station, leaving her alone with half-butchered chicken and a creeping sense of dread. She finished prep on autopilot, trying not to think about Leo's guys coming to her workplace, about the 48-hour deadline that was now more like 24 hours, about Lena's cryptic phone call and the promises she couldn't possibly keep. By the time her shift ended at 3, Mara's nerves were shot. She changed out of her grease-stained uniform, clocked out, stepped into the alley behind Rossi's. 2 men were waiting. She recognized them immediately. Leo's muscle, both in their 30s, one with a shaved head and the other with a scar through his eyebrow. They straightened when they saw her. Mara Ellis, Scarface smiled. We've been looking for you. She thought about running, thought about screaming, did neither. I don't have your money. We know. That's why we're here. He moved closer. Not threatening exactly, just intentional. Mr. Marino would like to have a conversation. I already talked to him. I told him I need more time. Time's up, sweetheart. You coming with us, or do we need to make this difficult? Her pulse spiked. I'm not going anywhere with you. See? That's the wrong answer. Baldy cracked his knuckles. Because Mr. Marino doesn't like being ignored. And when Mr. Marino gets upset, people get hurt. I don't know what you want from me. I don't have $15,000. I'll never have $15,000. My dad took that debt to his grave. Funny thing about that, Scarface said. Debt doesn't die with the debtor, passes to next of kin, which means you and your sister are on the hook. Lena said she handled it. Yeah, she did. His smile widened. Want to know how? Mara's stomach turned over. How? She made a deal, offered to work it off, and Mr. Marino, being a generous man, accepted. Work it off how? That's between them. Point is, the debt's settled. Except Lena's been missing her shifts, and that's a problem. So Mr. Marino sent us to deliver a message. What message? Your sister has 3 days to get back to work, or the deal's off and the debt falls back on you. With interest. Mara's legs felt weak. I don't know where Lena is. Then find her. Unless you want to start making payments yourself. I'm sure we could work out an arrangement. His eyes crawled over her. You're prettier than your sister. Could probably earn out the debt faster. The implication made her skin crawl. Fuck you. Careful. His expression hardened. You don't want to make this worse. It's already worse. You're harassing me at work, threatening me in alleys. We're delivering a message. What you do with it is your business. He stepped back. 3 days, Mara. Find your sister or find 15 grand. Your choice. They walked away, leaving her shaking in the alley with grease on her jeans and terror in her throat. She pulled out her phone. Called Lena. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Texted. They came to my work. They said you made a deal. What the fuck did you do? No response. Mara wanted to scream. Wanted to throw her phone against the brick wall and watch it shatter. Instead, she took a breath, then another, trying to slow her racing heart. 3 days. She had to find Lena, had to figure out what kind of deal she'd made with Leo, what work she'd been doing, why she'd disappeared. But first she had to get through tonight. She walked to the bus stop, rode to 4C's building, climbed the stairs with shaking hands. The porridge was in her bag. She'd made it this morning, still warm in its thermos, and for some reason the routine of it steadied her. This, at least, was something she could control, a small kindness in a world that felt increasingly cruel. She knocked, waited. The door opened. 4C looked better. Still pale, still thin, but standing upright now, one hand braced on the doorframe. His eyes were clearer, sharper. You're late, he said. Had a bad day. I can see that. He stepped aside. Come in. She hesitated. She'd never actually entered his apartment, just handed him food from the doorway. But tonight she was too tired to care about boundaries, too rattled to think straight. She walked in. The place was still mostly empty, but there were signs of life now. A blanket folded on the mattress, a glass of water on the floor, a book, something thick and worn, sitting face down on the windowsill. You're healing, she said, setting the thermos on the counter. Slowly. Good. Maybe you'll stop looking like a corpse, a ghost of a smile. Your bedside manner is terrible. I'm a cook, not a nurse. She turned to face him. You gonna tell me your real name, or should I keep calling you 4C? He studied her for a long moment. Then, Dante. Dante? It suited him somehow, dark and old-fashioned and a little dramatic. I'm Mara. I know. That surprised her. How? You're not exactly quiet on the stairs. Fair? She moved toward the door, suddenly exhausted. Porridge is in the thermos, should still be hot. Mara. She stopped, looked back. Why do you keep coming here? It was the first personal question he'd asked. The first acknowledgement that this strange nightly ritual was anything other than transactional. I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe because no one should die alone in a shitty apartment. I'm not dying. You were 3 weeks ago. And now I'm not. Because of you. The words sat between them, heavy with something she couldn't name. Don't make it weird, she said. It's just porridge. It's not just porridge. She didn't know how to respond to that, so she left, closing the door quietly behind her, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. The bus ride home was a blur. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, stepped inside. Her roommate was home for once, sprawled on the couch watching reality TV. "You look like shit," Jamie said without looking up. "Thanks." "There's beer in the fridge if you want." Mara grabbed one, twisted off the cap, drank half of it standing in the kitchen. It didn't help. Nothing helped. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, hope flaring. Maybe Lena, maybe answers. Instead, unknown number, 2 days left. She hurled the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a satisfying crack, the screen spiderwebbing. "Jesus Christ," Jamie said. "What the hell?" "Sorry." Mara crossed the room, picked up the phone. Still worked, barely. "I'll replace it." "You okay?" "No." Jamie muted the TV. "You want to talk about it?" "Not really." "Okay." She unmuted the TV. Mara went to her room, closed the door, sat on the edge of her bed with her broken phone in her hands. She thought about Dante, standing in his empty apartment, asking why she kept coming. She thought about Lena, wherever she was, whatever deal she'd made. She thought about Leo Marino and his men and the impossible debt hanging over her head. And she thought about the next 2 days, ticking down like a bomb. She didn't sleep that night, just lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, waiting for dawn. Day 2 came and went in a haze. Work, bus, porridge, Dante's apartment, where he was sitting up now, reading that book, looking almost human. "Bad day again?" he asked when he saw her face. "Bad life." "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." He nodded, didn't push, just took the porridge and thanked her, actually thanked her, which was new, and watched her leave with those dark, unreadable eyes. She went home, called Lena 15 times, got voicemail every time, went to bed, didn't sleep. Day 3, the deadline. Mara went to work, cooked, served, smiled at customers and pretended everything was fine. When her shift ended, she walked out the back door into the alley. Leo's men were waiting, but this time they weren't alone. Lena was with them. Mara's heart stopped. Her sister looked wrong, too thin, too pale, dark circles under her eyes and a bruise on her cheekbone that hadn't been there before. "Lena." She started forward. Scarface blocked her path. "Not so fast. What did you do to her?" "Nothing she didn't agree to." He smiled. "Your sister's been a very good employee. Unfortunately, she tried to quit. Mr. Marino doesn't like quitters. Let her go." "Can't do that. She's got a debt to work off." "She's my sister." "She's collateral." He grabbed Lena's arm, pulled her close. "And unless you've got 15 grand in your pocket, she stays with us." Lena's eyes met Mara's. She looked terrified, broken. "I'll get the money," Mara said desperately. "I just need time." "Time's up. Please." "Walk away, Mara." Lena's voice was hoarse. "Just walk away." "I'm not leaving you with them." "You don't have a choice," Scarface smiled. "Smart girl, listen to your sister." They started walking, dragging Lena with them. Mara stood in the alley, shaking, useless, watching her sister disappear. And something inside her broke. She ran. Not after them. She wasn't stupid. But toward the one person who might, maybe, possibly understand what it felt like to be powerless. She took the bus to 4C's building, ran up the stairs, pounded on his door. Dante opened it, already frowning. "Mara, I need help." The words tumbled out. "My sister. They took my sister. I don't know what to do. I don't have anyone else." He pulled her inside, closed the door. "Slow down. Who took your sister?" "Loan sharks. Leo Marino's guys. My dad owed them money, and when he died, the debt passed to us, and Lena made some kind of deal to work it off, but she tried to quit, and now they have her, and I don't, Leo Marino." Something in his voice made her stop, look at him. His expression had changed, gone cold, dangerous. "You know him?" she asked. "I know of him." Dante moved to the window, stared out at the city. "He's small time, runs collections and girls on the south side." "Girls?" He didn't answer. Understanding hit her like a fist. "Oh God. Lena, that's what she's been doing. That's the deal she made." "Probably. I have to get her out." "You can't." "I have to try." "Mara." He turned to face her. You walk into Leo's world, you don't walk back out. Not without money or muscle. And you don't have either. So I should just abandon her? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, how much is the debt? 15,000. Why? Because I can make it disappear. She stared at him. What? The debt. I can erase it. Get your sister back. Make Leo leave you alone. How? Let me worry about that. Dante, you can barely stand. You've been bleeding in this apartment for a month. How are you going to... I said, let me worry about it. His voice was steel. Do you want my help or not? She should have said no, should have asked questions, demanded explanations, walked away from whatever this was. But Lena was out there, trapped, scared, and Mara was drowning. Yes, she whispered. I want your help. Dante pulled out a phone she'd never seen before. Dialed, waited. It's me, he said when someone answered. I need a favor. The voice on the other end said something Mara couldn't hear. Dante's jaw tightened. I don't care what Marcus thinks. This isn't a negotiation. He paused. 48 hours. I'll be ready by then. He hung up. Turned back to Mara, who was still standing by the door, trying to process what she'd just witnessed. The man who'd been half dead 3 weeks ago, who could barely lift his head without wincing, had just made a phone call that sounded like he was giving orders. Who are you? She asked. Someone who can help you. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. He moved to the window again, his silhouette dark against the gray November sky. Go home, Mara. I'll handle Leo. Just like that? You'll just handle it? Yes. Why? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. He was quiet for so long she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then, you brought me porridge every night for 3 weeks. Never asked for anything, never wanted anything. Just showed up because you thought I needed it. He looked at her. That's rare. People like you are rare. I'm not special. I'm just... You are. His voice was firm. And your sister shouldn't suffer because your father made bad choices. So I'm going to fix this, but you need to stay out of it. Can you do that? Every instinct screamed no. Screamed that she should be doing something, fighting, not standing in this empty apartment while a stranger promised impossible things. But what choice did she have? Okay, she said quietly. Okay. She left before he could say anything else, took the stairs down, walked to the bus stop in a daze. The city moved around her, cars honking, people rushing, the L train rattling overhead, but it all felt distant, like she was watching through glass. Dante was going to help her. A man she'd known for 3 weeks, whose real name she'd learned 2 days ago, who'd been hiding in an abandoned apartment with a gunshot wound. He was going to make her sister's nightmare disappear. It didn't make sense. None of this made sense. But she didn't have another option, so she got on the bus and went home and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. The next day crawled. Mara went to work, burned herself on the stove twice, dropped a pan of chicken during lunch rush. Giovanni pulled her aside. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I'm sorry. You're not here. Your head's somewhere else. I said I'm sorry. He studied her with those sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. The men who came looking for you, they're gone. Haven't been back since yesterday. Her heart skipped. What? I said they're gone. Whatever you did, it worked. I didn't do anything. Well, someone did. He squeezed her shoulder. You're a good worker, Mara. Don't let me lose you over something stupid. You won't, I promise. She finished her shift in a fog. When 3 o'clock came, she changed and stepped into the alley, half expecting Leo's men to be waiting. The alley was empty. She walked to the bus stop, checking over her shoulder every few steps. Nothing. No one following her. No cars slowing down. Just a normal November afternoon in a city that suddenly felt too quiet. She went to Dante's building, climbed the stairs, knocked. He answered immediately, and the change in him stole her breath. He was dressed now, dark jeans, black shirt, a jacket that probably cost more than her rent. His hair was combed back, his face clean-shaven. He looked healthy, strong. He looked dangerous. They're gone, she said. Leo's men, they haven't been to the restaurant. I know. How did you... I made a call. Explained that you and your sister were under my protection. Leo understood. Just like that? You made a call and $15,000 of debt just disappeared? Yes. Who the hell are you? He stepped aside. Come in. We need to talk. She walked past him, her pulse hammering. The apartment looked different in daylight. Still sparse, but cleaner, more organized. The mattress had sheets now. There was food on the counter. A laptop on the floor, its screen glowing. Sit, he said, gesturing to the mattress. She sat. He stayed standing, arms crossed, backlit by the window. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room, he said. Understood? Understood? My name is Dante Vale. Up until a month ago, I ran most of the organized operations on the north and west sides of this city. Gambling, protection, logistics. Leo Marino worked for me. So did about 40 other guys like him. The room tilted. Mara grabbed the edge of the mattress. You're lying. I'm not. You were bleeding to death in an empty apartment. You didn't even have furniture. Because I was hiding. Someone I trusted put a bullet in me and left me to die. I came here because it's the last place anyone would look. She shook her head, trying to reconcile the man standing in front of her with the broken thing she'd found slumped against the wall. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know who you've been feeding. He moved to the window. And because what happens next is going to get messy, and I need you to stay out of it. What happens next? I'm going back. Taking back what's mine. And when I do, people are going to get hurt. Her stomach turned. Dante, your sister is safe. The debt is erased. Leo won't touch you. But this world I'm in, it's not clean. It's not good. And the less you know about it, the better. Then why tell me at all? Because you'll hear things, see things on the news maybe, and I don't want you to think I lied to you. He turned to face her. You showed me kindness when I had nothing. When I was nobody. That matters. She stood, her legs shaking. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just stay away from me after this. Forget you ever climbed these stairs. I can't just forget. Yes, you can. You're good, Mara. You're normal. This life, it'll ruin you, and you've got enough to deal with without adding my problems to the list. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him that he didn't get to make that choice for her, that she wasn't some fragile thing that needed protecting. But the truth was, she was terrified. Of him. Of what he'd just told her. Of the cold certainty in his voice when he talked about people getting hurt. Where's Lena? She asked instead. A hotel downtown. Safe. I'll send you the address. She knows what happened? She knows the debt's cleared. That's all she needs to know. Mara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She moved toward the door, needing air, needing space, needing to be anywhere but this apartment with this man who'd just turned her entire understanding of the last 3 weeks inside out. Mara. She stopped, hand on the doorknob. Thank you, he said quietly. For the porridge, for giving a shit. No one's done that for me in a long time. She looked back at him, this stranger who wasn't a stranger, who'd saved her sister with a phone call, who was apparently one of the most dangerous men in Chicago. Don't get killed, she said. Then she left. The bus ride was a blur. She got off at her stop, walked to her building, climbed the stairs. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congress Hotel, room 412. She's waiting. Mara changed direction, caught another bus heading east, watched the city change from her neighborhood, crumbling brick, chain-link fences, corner stores with bars on the windows, to downtown, where everything was glass and steel and people in expensive coats. The Congress Hotel was old, grand, the kind of place that charged $200 a night. She walked through the marble lobby feeling completely out of place, took the elevator to the 4th floor, found room 412. Knocked. The door opened. Lena stood there, alive, whole, and Mara burst into tears. Jesus, Mara! Lena pulled her inside, wrapped her in a hug that smelled like cheap shampoo and cigarettes. I'm okay. I'm fine. You're not fine. You have a bruise on your face. It's nothing. It's not nothing. Mara pulled back, studying her sister. She looked exhausted, hollowed out, but there was relief in her eyes. What happened? 1 second Leo's guys had you, the next I get a text that you're here. I don't know. They just let me go. Put me in a car, drove me here, gave me a room key, and said the debt was cleared. Did they say why? No, but I'm not asking questions. Lena moved to the bed, sat down heavily. I thought I could handle it. The deal with Leo. I thought if I just did what they asked for a few months, we'd be clear. But it kept getting worse, and they kept adding conditions, and I couldn't—" Her voice cracked. "I couldn't get out." Mara sat beside her. "You should have told me." "What were you going to do? You're barely keeping your head above water as it is." "We could have figured something out." They stayed in that hotel room for hours, talking about nothing important, avoiding the big things because they were too raw, too complicated. Eventually, Lena fell asleep on the bed, and Mara covered her with a blanket and sat in the chair by the window, watching the city lights come on. She thought about Dante, wondered what he was doing right now. If he was making more calls, pulling strings, preparing for whatever came next. She thought about never seeing him again, about going back to her normal life, her normal problems, pretending the last 3 weeks hadn't happened. It felt wrong, incomplete. But maybe that was the point. Maybe some stories didn't get neat endings. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. "Your mother's medical bills are covered, all of them." Mara stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She typed back, "How?" The response came immediately. "Anonymous donation. Don't ask questions." She knew it was him. Knew Dante had done this, had somehow reached into her life and fixed the other impossible thing, the weight she'd been carrying since her mother's diagnosis. She wanted to call him, to ask why, to tell him he didn't have to say something that wasn't just thank you because thank you wasn't enough. But she didn't have his number, didn't know how to reach him except by climbing those stairs, and he'd told her not to come back. So she sat in that hotel room with her sleeping sister and her cleared debts and her confusion, and she cried. Not from sadness, exactly. From release. From the sudden absence of pressure she'd been living under for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to breathe. She must have dozed off in the chair because she woke to sunlight and Lena shaking her shoulder. "Mara, we should go." They checked out of the hotel, took the L back to their neighborhood. Lena came to Mara's apartment, collapsed on the couch, and slept for 14 hours straight. Mara went to work, came home, made dinner. Existed in the strange new reality where her sister was safe and her mother's hospice was paid and Leo Marino's men weren't waiting in alleys. 3 days passed, then a week. No word from Dante, no mysterious texts, nothing. She stopped bringing porridge, stopped climbing those stairs. What was the point? He'd made it clear, stay away, forget this happened, move on. So she tried. But on the 8th day she broke. Took the bus to his building after work, climbed to the 4th floor, knocked on 4C's door. No answer. She tried the knob. Locked. "He's gone," a voice said behind her. She turned. An old woman stood in the hallway, holding a grocery bag, eyeing Mara suspiciously. "What?" "The guy in 4C, left a few days ago. Movers came, cleaned the place out. Landlord's already got it listed." "Do you know where he went?" "Do I look like his secretary?" The woman unlocked her own door. "Good riddance, anyway. Place was bad luck." She disappeared inside. Mara stood in the empty hallway, staring at 4C's closed door, feeling something twist in her chest. He was gone. Really gone. And she hadn't even said goodbye. She went home. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. Around midnight, she gave up and turned on the TV, flipping through channels mindlessly until she hit the local news. Shocking violence on the city's north side tonight, as multiple businesses were targeted in what police are calling coordinated attacks. Authorities say at least 6 locations tied to organized operations were hit simultaneously, resulting in several injuries and 2 confirmed deaths. Sources close to the investigation suggest this may be the beginning of a larger power struggle within Chicago's criminal networks. Mara's blood went cold. She turned up the volume. The reporter was standing outside a building Mara didn't recognize, police lights flashing behind her. Officials are not releasing names at this time, but witnesses report seeing armed men entering these establishments and confronting individuals inside. The violence escalated quickly, and by the time police arrived, the attackers were gone. The screen cut to shaky cell phone footage, blurred figures, shouting, the crack of something that might have been gunshots, then back to the reporter. "Anyone with information is asked to contact—" Mara muted it, sat in the dark, her heart hammering. "People are going to get hurt," Dante had said. This was him. Had to be. Taking back what was his. She thought about calling someone. The police, maybe. But what would she even say? She didn't know anything concrete, didn't have proof, just a gut feeling and a warning from a man who'd vanished. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? Don't watch the news. Dante's voice, rough and tired. Too late. Mara, is that you? What they're talking about? Silence. Dante, tell me that's not you. I told you to stay out of this. And I told you not to get killed. Guess we're both bad at following instructions. A sound that might have been a laugh. Fair. Are you okay? I'm fine. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Background noise on his end, voices, movement. I shouldn't have called. I just wanted to make sure you weren't doing something stupid. Like what? Like trying to find me. Like getting involved. I'm not involved. You made that very clear. Good. Keep it that way. Dante, I have to go. Wait, just... She didn't know what she wanted to say. Be careful. Always am. He hung up. Mara sat there with the phone pressed to her ear, listening to dead air, trying to calm her racing pulse. He'd called her. In the middle of whatever chaos was unfolding on the north side, he'd taken the time to call and tell her to stay safe. That had to mean something. The next week was worse. More reports on the news, more violence, more raids, more arrests. The police commissioner held a press conference, promising to crack down on organized operations. The mayor condemned the escalation. Talking heads debated whether this was a gang war or something bigger. Mara watched it all with a sick feeling in her stomach, knowing Dante was somewhere in the middle of it, knowing she couldn't do anything to help. Lena started looking for a new job. Something normal, she said. Something that didn't involve men like Leo Marino. Mara helped her update her resume, practice interview answers, pretend the last few months hadn't happened. Their mother's condition stabilized. The hospice called to say the new treatment plan, the one they'd never been able to afford before, was working. She was comfortable, awake more often, asking for her daughters. Mara and Lena visited on a cold Sunday afternoon. Their mother looked small in the bed, her hair thin, her hands like bird bones. But she smiled when she saw them. "My girls," she whispered. They sat on either side of the bed, holding her hands, talking about nothing important. The weather. Lena's job search. A movie Mara had watched. Normal things. Safe things. When visiting hours ended, they kissed her forehead and promised to come back soon. In the parking lot, Lena turned to Mara. "Did you pay for the treatment?" "No." "Then who did?" "I don't know. The hospice said it was an anonymous donor." "That's bullshit. People don't just donate 50 grand anonymously." "Apparently they do." Lena studied her. "You're lying." "I'm not." "Mara, who paid for Mom's treatment? Who cleared the debt with Leo?" "I told you, I don't know." "You're a terrible liar." Lena grabbed her arm. "What did you do?" "Nothing. I didn't do anything. Then someone did. And you know who." Mara pulled away. "Drop it, Lena." "No, you've been weird for 2 weeks, distracted, watching the news like you're waiting for something. What's going on?" "Nothing is going on. We got lucky. Someone helped us. That's it." "Nobody helps people like us for free. There's always a cost." "Not this time." Mara, I said drop it. The words came out sharper than she'd intended. "I don't know who helped us. I don't know why, and I don't care. We're safe. Mom's safe. That's all that matters." Lena stared at her for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "Fine. Keep your secrets. But if this comes back on us, if whoever did this decides they want something in return, they won't." "You don't know that." "I do." Mara met her eyes. "Trust me, okay? Just trust me." Lena didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Okay." They drove home in silence. That night, Mara lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Dante, wondering where he was, if he was safe, if he thought about her the way she thought about him. Probably not. She'd been a blip in his life, a momentary kindness during a hard time. He'd repaid that kindness 100 times over, and now they were even. She should be grateful, should move on. But gratitude wasn't what she felt. 2 more weeks passed. The violence on the news slowed. The police made arrests. The mayor declared victory over organized operations, Even though everyone knew it was temporary, performative, Mara went back to her normal life. Work, home, visit mom, repeat. Lena got a job at a call center. They had dinner together twice a week. Talked about safe things. Avoided the big questions. It was fine. It was stable. It was boring as hell. Then, 3 weeks after Dante's phone call, Mara came home from work to find an envelope taped to her door. No return address. No stamp. Just her name in clean, precise handwriting. She opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper with an address on the west side and a time, 8 p.m. tonight, and at the bottom, in that same handwriting, if you want answers. Mara's hands shook. She checked the time, 7:15. She should ignore this, should throw the note away and pretend she never got it. But Dante had said she deserved to know, had promised her truth, even if it was ugly, and she was so damn tired of not knowing. She changed clothes, caught the bus heading west, watched the neighborhoods change as the sun set, her world giving way to his, familiar streets becoming foreign territory. The address was a restaurant, not fancy, but nice. The kind of place with cloth napkins and wine lists and waiters in ties. She walked in at exactly 8 p.m. "Reservation?" the host asked. "I'm meeting someone." "Name?" "I don't—" She stopped. "Vale. Dante Vale." The host's expression changed, became careful. "Right this way." He led her through the dining room to a private section in the back. A table set for two, candles, wine already poured. And Dante, standing by the window, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than her car, looking at her like he'd been waiting his whole life for her to walk through that door. "You came," he said. "You knew I would." "I hoped." He gestured to the chair. "Sit, please." She sat. He sat across from her, and for a moment they just looked at each other. He looked different, harder, more settled into himself. Whatever had been broken in that apartment had been repaired, reinforced, turned into something formidable. "You said I deserved answers," Mara said. "You do. So talk." Dante picked up his wine glass, set it down without drinking. "The woman who shot me was named Isabel Crane. We were together for 2 years. I trusted her more than anyone." Mara waited, her heart beating too fast. She was working with my competitor the whole time, feeding him information, undermining my operations, waiting for the right moment to take me out. He looked at the candle flame. "The night it happened, we were supposed to be meeting a supplier. She drove. Took me to a warehouse on the south side instead. 3 guys waiting. She put the first bullet in me herself." Jesus. "They left me there to bleed out. Figured I'd be dead by morning." His mouth twisted. "I would have been, if I hadn't crawled to that apartment, if you hadn't found me." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you asked who I was. This is who I am. Someone people betray. Someone who trusts the wrong person and ends up bleeding on a warehouse floor." "That's not—" "It is." He met her eyes. "I'm not a good man, Mara. The things I've done, the business I run, none of it's clean. People get hurt, people disappear, and I'm the one making those calls." She swallowed hard. "The news, those raids, that was you getting even. That was me taking back what was mine. There's a difference. Is there?" "Yes, because I didn't kill anyone who didn't deserve it. Didn't touch anyone who wasn't involved. I could have burned the whole city down. Instead, I was surgical." "You say that like it makes it better." "It doesn't, but it's the truth." He leaned back. "After I recovered, I spent 2 weeks planning, figuring out who'd turned on me, who'd stayed loyal, where Isabel had gone. Then I moved. Hit every operation she'd taken over, every guy who'd flipped. Sent a message that I was back and I wasn't hiding anymore." "What happened to her?" "She ran. Got as far as Detroit before my people found her." His voice went flat. "She's not running anymore." The implications hung in the air. Mara's stomach turned. "You killed her." "I didn't, but I gave the order, which amounts to the same thing." "And you're just telling me this? Like it's normal?" "It's not normal. It's horrible. But you wanted the truth." She did. She had. But hearing it was different than imagining it, and now she was sitting across from someone who'd ordered a death like it was a business transaction. "Why did you invite me here?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know. He ran a hand through his hair, the first crack in his composure. I can't stop thinking about you. Those 3 weeks in that apartment, you were the only good thing in my life. The only person who looked at me and didn't see what I could do for them or what I could take away. You just saw someone who needed help. You were bleeding to death. Of course I helped. Most people would have walked away, called the cops maybe. But you brought porridge every single night like I mattered. You did matter. You do. To you, maybe. To the rest of the world, I'm a problem that needs solving. He reached across the table, stopped short of touching her hand. I shouldn't have brought you here. You should be home, safe, far away from this mess. But I'm selfish, and I wanted to see you. Mara looked at his hand, inches from hers. She thought about the man in the apartment, broken and alone. Thought about the phone call that had saved Lena, the money that had saved her mother. Thought about the violence on the news and the casual way he'd just admitted to ordering someone's death. He was dangerous. He was damaged. He was everything she should run from. But when she looked at him, she didn't see a monster. She saw someone who'd been betrayed so badly he'd almost died, who'd survived out of pure spite, who'd used his power to help her even when he had nothing to gain. She put her hand on his breath caught. I'm not running, she said, but I need you to be honest with me about everything, no more secrets. Mara, I mean it. If we're doing this, whatever this is, I need to know what I'm getting into. You're getting into something that could get you killed. Then tell me how to stay alive. He stared at her like she'd grown a second head. You should be scared of me. I am scared of you. I'm also here. Why? Because you called me in the middle of a war zone to make sure I was safe. Because you fixed my life and asked for nothing in return. Because when I look at you, I see someone who's been hurt so many times, he doesn't know how to accept kindness anymore. She squeezed his hand. And because I think you're worth saving. I'm not. That's not your call to make. They sat like that, hands touching across the table, the restaurant humming around them. Finally, Dante said, If you stay, things are going to get complicated. How complicated? I have enemies, people who want me dead. If they find out you matter to me, they'll use you to get to me. So what do we do? We're careful. You don't tell anyone about this. Not your sister, not your roommate, no one. You come when I call, you leave when I tell you to, and you trust that I know how to keep you safe. That sounds like a lot of rules. It's the only way this works. She should have said no, should have pulled her hand back and walked out of this restaurant and never looked back. But she didn't. Okay, she said. I'm in. Relief crossed his face, there and gone so fast she almost missed it. He turned her hand over, pressed his thumb to her pulse point. You're insane. Probably. This is a mistake. Definitely. I don't deserve you. We've established that. A real smile this time, small but genuine. You're different than I expected. What did you expect? Someone softer, easier to scare off. I work in a kitchen. I deal with hot oil and sharp knives and men yelling in Italian. You're going to have to try harder than dark warnings and vague threats. He laughed, the sound rusty like he didn't do it often. Noted. A waiter appeared with menus. Dante ordered for both of them without asking, and Mara should have been annoyed, but mostly she was relieved because she didn't recognize half the items on the menu anyway. When the waiter left, Dante said, Tell me about your mother. The subject changed through her. What about her? How is she? The treatment working? Yeah, she's better. Still dying, but slower now, with less pain. I'm sorry. Why? You're the reason she's comfortable. The hospice said the medication alone costs $3,000 a month. Money's not an issue. It is for me. Not anymore, she frowned. I don't want your money, Dante. Too bad. You're getting it anyway. He leaned forward. I have more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use some of it to make your life easier. That's not how this works. You can't just throw cash at my problems. Why not? Because I'm not a charity case. I don't need saving. You literally asked me to save your sister. That was different. That was life or death. And your mother's treatment isn't? She didn't have an answer for that. He pressed his advantage. Let me help you, please. It's the only good thing I've done in months. You've done plenty of good things. Name one. You let me walk away. After I found you in that apartment, you could have, I don't know, made me disappear or something. Made sure I didn't talk. You think I'd hurt you? I think you've hurt people for less. He was quiet for a moment. You're right, I have. But never you. I couldn't. Why not? Because you brought me porridge. It should have sounded stupid, should have been laughable. But the way he said it, like those 3 weeks had meant something fundamental, like her small kindness had shifted his entire worldview, made her chest tight. Their food arrived, some kind of fish Mara couldn't pronounce, vegetables she didn't recognize, bread that probably cost more than her entire grocery budget. It was good. Better than good. She tried not to think about the fact that this single meal would have paid her rent. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Dante said, "What do you want?" "What do you mean?" "Long term. Career, life, all of it. What do you want?" "I don't know. I haven't thought about it." "Why not?" "Because wanting things is dangerous when you can't afford them." "You can afford them now." She set down her fork. "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Acting like your money solves everything. It doesn't. I still have to work. Still have to take care of my family. Your money doesn't change who I am." "I'm not trying to change who you are. I'm trying to give you options. Options I didn't ask for." "Mara, I need you to understand something." She met his eyes. "I'm not with you because of what you can give me. I'm here because of who you are. The man who ate porridge every night and never complained. The man who called me in the middle of a war to make sure I was safe. That's who I care about. Not the money or the power or whatever empire you're building." He looked at her for a long time. Then, "No one's ever said that to me before." "Then you've been around the wrong people." "Clearly." They finished dinner. Dante paid with a black card that made the waiter's eyes widen. Then he led her outside where a car was waiting. Not a taxi, something sleek and expensive with a driver who nodded at Dante like they knew each other. "I'll take you home," Dante said. "I can take the bus." "Not at this hour. Not in that neighborhood." "I've been taking the bus in that neighborhood for 3 years. And now you don't have to." She wanted to argue, but the truth was she was exhausted, and the thought of waiting at a bus stop in the cold made her want to cry. So she got in the car. Dante slid in beside her, gave the driver her address without asking. The car pulled away from the curb, smooth and quiet, nothing like the rattling buses she was used to. "How do you know where I live?" she asked. "I know everything about you, your address, your work schedule, your mother's hospice, your sister's new job. I've known since the 2nd week." "That's creepy. That's survival. I don't let unknowns into my life without doing research." "And what did your research tell you?" "That you're exactly who you appear to be. No debts except your father's. No criminal record. No questionable associations. Just a woman trying to keep her head above water." "Sounds boring. Sounds honest." He turned to look at her. "That's rare in my world." The car wound through the city, past her bus stops and familiar corners, pulling up to her building faster than she'd expected. The driver put it in park but didn't get out. Dante walked her to the door. "Thank you for dinner," she said. "Thank you for coming." "When will I see you again?" "Soon, I'll call." That's vague. It has to be. Things are still unstable. I'm still consolidating, still making sure everyone understands the new order. He touched her face, gentle. "But I'll call. I promise. Be careful." "Always am." He kissed her then, soft and brief, like he was afraid she'd break. Then he walked back to the car and was gone, leaving her standing on the sidewalk with her heart racing and her thoughts in chaos. She went upstairs. Jamie was asleep on the couch, TV still on. Mara turned it off, went to her room, lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She'd just had dinner with a mafia boss, had held his hand and listened to him confess to murder and told him she wasn't running. What the hell was she doing? But even as she asked the question, she knew the answer. She was falling for him, for the man behind the reputation, the broken thing she'd found in apartment 4C, the person who'd looked at her like she was the only good thing in a world full of terrible things. It was stupid. It was dangerous. It was happening anyway. Over the next 2 weeks, Dante called 3 times. Short conversations, always late at night, always careful. He asked about her day, told her about his, in broad strokes, nothing incriminating. They talked about movies and food and stupid things that didn't matter. It felt normal. Almost. Then one night he called and said, I need you to come to my place. Your place? Yeah, I'll send a car. Dante, I have work in the morning. Take the day off. I'll make it worth your while. The car arrived 20 minutes later. Same driver, same quiet efficiency. But this time they drove north, into a neighborhood Mara had only seen in magazines. Old brownstones, tree-lined streets, the kind of area where people didn't lock their doors because security systems did it for them. The car stopped in front of a 3-story building with ivy growing up the brick. The driver opened her door. Top floor, he said. She climbed the steps, found the door unlocked, pushed it open. The apartment was nothing like 4C hardwood floors, high ceilings, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, art on the walls, a kitchen bigger than her entire apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Dante was standing by those windows, a drink in his hand, watching the lights. Holy shit, Mara said. He turned, smiled. You like it? It's insane. You live here? As of last week, figured it was time to stop hiding. She walked through the space, touching things carefully, like they might break. This is too much. It's home. My entire building could fit in here. Then move in. She froze. What? Move in. You and your sister if you want. There's 4 bedrooms. Plenty of space. Dante, we've known each other for 6 weeks. So? So normal people don't move in together after 6 weeks. We're not normal people. He set down his drink, crossed to her. I'm not trying to rush you. I just want you here. Want to wake up and see you. Come home and know you're safe. This is crazy. Probably. I have a lease, a job, a life. Keep your job. Break your lease, I'll cover the penalty. Your life doesn't have to change, just your address. She shook her head, overwhelmed. I can't think about this right now. Okay. He pulled her close. Then don't think. Just stay tonight. See how it feels. She should have said no, should have called the car and gone home and put some distance between them before this got any more complicated. But his arms were warm and the apartment was beautiful, and she was so tired of struggling. One night, she said. One night. He showed her the bedroom. Massive bed, soft sheets, a bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. She borrowed one of his shirts, climbed under the covers, expected to lie awake for hours. Instead, she was asleep in minutes. She woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Dante was in the kitchen, making breakfast like it was the most natural thing in the world. Morning, he said. You cook? Badly, but I try. The eggs were overdone and the toast was burnt, but she ate every bite because he'd made it for her, and that felt important. After breakfast, he showed her the rest of the building, the security system, the private entrance, the garage with 3 cars she didn't recognize. This is your life? She asked. Part of it. What's the other part? Work, meetings, putting out fires, making sure people remember why they follow me. Sounds exhausting. It is. They spent the day in that apartment, talking and not talking, existing in the same space like they'd been doing it for years. He worked on his laptop while she read a book from his shelf. They ordered lunch from a place that delivered in actual China. They watched the city from the windows as the sun set. It felt easy, natural, like home. When evening came, Dante said, I have a meeting. It's going to run late. Should I go? No, stay. I want to come back and find you here. What kind of meeting? The kind you don't want details about. Dante, trust me, please. I'll tell you what I can, but some things are safer if you don't know. She hated it. Hated the secrets, the vague answers, the reminder that his world operated on rules she didn't understand. But she nodded. Be safe. Always. He kissed her, longer this time, like he was memorizing the taste of her. Then he left. Mara wandered the apartment, restless. She tried to read, tried to watch TV. Eventually, she gave up and called Lena. Where the hell are you? Lena demanded. I've been calling. I'm fine. I'm with someone. What someone? Just someone. I'll explain later. Mara, you never disappear. What's going on? Nothing. Everything's fine. You're lying again. I'm not. Is this about whoever paid off the debt? Because I swear to God, if you're in some kind of trouble, I'm not in trouble. I'm safe, I promise. Lena was quiet for a long moment. You're sleeping with him, aren't you? Whoever this guy is, that's none of your business. It is if he's dangerous. He's not. Everyone's dangerous if you don't know them well enough. I know him. 6 weeks ago, you didn't know he existed. And now I do. Things change, Lena. Not this fast, not for you. Her sister's voice softened. I'm worried about you. Don't be. I'm okay. Better than okay. Then bring him around. Let me meet him. I can't. Not yet. Why not? It's complicated. Everything with you is complicated lately. Mara closed her eyes. I have to go. Mara, I'll call you tomorrow. I promise. She hung up before Lena could argue, felt guilty immediately, but didn't call back. Dante came home after midnight. He looked tired, tension in his shoulders, but when he saw her curled up on his couch, he smiled. You stayed. You asked me to. He sat beside her, pulled her into his lap. The meeting went well. We're solid now. No more fires to put out. What does that mean? It means I can breathe. We can breathe. He kissed her neck. It means you're safe. I was always safe. Not like this. Before you were a secret, a vulnerability. Now you're protected. Anyone who touches you answers to me. That's romantic in a deeply fucked up way. I'm a deeply fucked up guy. She turned to face him. You're also kind. And careful. And the only person who's ever looked at me like I matter. You do matter, more than anything. We barely know each other. I know you brought me porridge for 3 weeks. I know you work 14-hour shifts and never complain. I know you love your family enough to drown yourself in debt trying to save them. I know you're brave and stubborn and too good for someone like me. He cupped her face. That's enough. She kissed him. Let him carry her to the bedroom. Let the rest of the world fall away. Later, lying in the dark with his heartbeat under her ear, she said, I'll move in. He went still. What? Your offer. I'll take it. Me and Lena if she wants. But I'm keeping my job, and I'm paying rent. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. I need to contribute something or I'll go crazy. Okay, whatever you want. And you have to be honest with me about your work, your life, all of it. I can't do this if you're keeping secrets. I'll tell you what I can. That's not good enough. He sighed. Fine. I'll tell you everything, even the stuff that'll make you hate me. I won't hate you. You might. Then I guess we'll find out. They lay there in the dark, wrapped around each other, and Mara thought about how much her life had changed in 6 weeks. Thought about the girl who'd climbed those stairs with porridge, who'd had no idea the man she was feeding would become the center of her entire world. It was insane. It was impossible. It was happening anyway. Morning came too fast. Mara woke to Dante already dressed, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear, his voice low and clipped. She caught fragments, names she didn't recognize, locations, numbers that sounded like money or time or both. When he hung up, his jaw was tight. Problem? She asked. He turned, the tension in his face easing slightly when he saw her. Nothing I can't handle. That's not an answer. Someone's pushing back on the new territory lines. Thinks he can carve out his own peace now that things are settling. What are you going to do? Remind him why that's a bad idea. He crossed to the bed, kissed her forehead. I'll be back by tonight. Stay here. Don't go to work. Dante, I can't just skip. I'll call Giovanni. Tell him you're sick. You can't call my boss and lie for me. Watch me. He was already dialing. Giovanni? It's Dante Valle. Mara won't be in today. A pause. Yeah, she's fine. Just not feeling well. She'll be back tomorrow. Another pause, then a slight smile. I appreciate that. Thanks. He hung up. Mara stared at him. Did you just... How does Giovanni know who you are? Everyone knows who I am. I didn't. You weren't supposed to. He grabbed his jacket. There's food in the fridge. Security knows you're here. You need anything, call me. Wait, what if I want to leave? Then leave. You're not a prisoner. He paused at the door. But I'd feel better if you stayed. Why? Because the guy I'm dealing with today is unpredictable. And until I know he's handled, I don't want you out in the open. Fear crept up her spine. Is it that dangerous? It shouldn't be, but I'm careful. He came back, took her face in his hands. I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to keep you safe. There's a difference. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she'd been taking care of herself for years and didn't need protection. But the look in his eyes, genuine concern mixed with something darker, stopped her. Fine. I'll stay, but you owe me details when you get back. Deal. He left. The apartment felt too big without him, too quiet. Mara showered, made coffee, wandered through rooms that still felt like someone else's life. She thought about calling Lena, telling her about the move, but that conversation felt too complicated for a phone call. Instead, she opened her laptop and started looking at the lease for her current apartment. Early termination penalty, 2 months' rent. Money she didn't have, but Dante did, and he'd said he'd cover it. The thought made her uncomfortable. She'd never relied on someone else's money before. Never had the option. Her whole life had been about making do, stretching dollars, choosing between groceries and electricity. Now she was living in a place with heated floors and a wine fridge and art that probably cost more than her car. It didn't feel real. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Mara Ellis? A woman's voice, smooth and professional. Yes? My name is Victoria Chen. I'm calling on behalf of Dante Vale regarding your living arrangements. He asked me to coordinate your move and handle any necessary paperwork. Mara blinked. I'm sorry, what? Your current lease, the moving company, utilities set up at the new address. Mr. Vale wants everything taken care of by the end of the week. I'll need some information from you to get started. He didn't mention, we just talked about this last night. Mr. Vale is efficient. There was a smile in the woman's voice. If now isn't a good time, I can call back. No, it's fine. This is moving really fast. That's how he operates. But I promise I'll make it as painless as possible. Do you have a few minutes to go over details? Mara spent the next 20 minutes answering questions about her lease, her belongings, her work schedule. Victoria took notes, asked clarifying questions, assured her that everything would be handled professionally and discreetly. When they hung up, Mara felt dizzy. This was happening. She was really moving in with a man she'd known for 6 weeks, a man who ran half the city's criminal operations, a man who'd been shot by his lover and left to die. This was insane. Her phone buzzed. Text from Dante. Victoria will take care of everything. Don't worry about money. She typed back, we need to talk about this. Tonight, I promise. She set the phone down, tried to process. Her life was changing so fast she couldn't keep up. 6 weeks ago, she'd been drowning in debt, working herself to exhaustion, watching her mother die slowly. Now the debt was gone, her mother was stable, and she was living in a brownstone with a man who could erase problems with a phone call. It felt like a fairy tale, the kind that didn't exist in real life, the kind that always had a catch. She spent the day exploring the neighborhood, tree-lined streets, coffee shops with $5 lattes, boutiques selling clothes she'd never be able to afford even with Dante's money. People walked dogs that probably had better health care than she'd had growing up. Nannies pushed expensive strollers. Everyone looked clean, comfortable, like they'd never worried about rent in their lives. This was Dante's world, and soon it would be hers too. The thought terrified her. She was back at the apartment by late afternoon, curled up on the couch with a book she couldn't focus on, when the door opened. Dante walked in, blood on his knuckles. Mara was on her feet instantly. What happened? It's fine. You're bleeding. Not my blood. He headed for the bathroom. Mostly. She followed him, watched him strip off his jacket, roll up his sleeves. There was a gash on his forearm, shallow but angry looking. Let me help. I've got it. Dante, let me help. He sighed, sat on the edge of the tub. She found the first aid kit under the sink. Of course he had a first aid kit, and knelt in front of him. What happened? She asked, cleaning the wound. The guy I told you about this morning, he didn't want to listen to reason. So you hit him? He hit me first. I just hit back harder. He winced as she applied antiseptic. It's handled now. He won't be a problem. Is he dead? No, but he'll think twice before pushing back again. She wrapped gauze around his forearm, her hand steady even though her heart was racing. This is your life, violence and blood and problems that get solved with fists. Yeah. And you want me in it. I want you anywhere you'll have me. He caught her wrist. but I understand if this is too much. If you want out, I'll help you move back to your place. Set you up somewhere safe. You'll never have to worry about money again. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? She looked at his face, the cut on his cheek she hadn't noticed before, the exhaustion in his eyes. I want you to stop getting hurt. That's not realistic. I know, but I want it anyway. He pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. I'm trying to build something stable, sustainable, where I don't have to solve every problem with violence, but it takes time. How much time? I don't know, months, maybe longer. He kissed her softly. Can you wait that long? I don't know if I have a choice. You always have a choice. She pulled back, met his eyes. Then I choose to stay. But I need you to promise me something. What? If it gets too dangerous, if staying with you puts me or my family at risk, you'll tell me. You won't try to protect me by keeping secrets. You'll be honest, and you'll let me make my own decisions. He was quiet for a long moment. I promise. Say it again. I promise I'll be honest, even when it's hard, even when I think the truth will make you leave. Okay. She stood, helped him up. Now go shower. You smell like a crime scene. A ghost of a smile. Yes, ma'am. While he showered, she made dinner. Nothing fancy, pasta, sauce from a jar, garlic bread. The kind of food she knew how to make that felt normal and grounding. He emerged 20 minutes later, clean and dressed in sweats, his hair still damp. He stopped in the doorway to the kitchen, just watching her. What? She asked. Nothing. Just not used to coming home to someone cooking for me. Get used to it. I cook for a living. They ate at the counter, not the formal dining table. She told him about Victoria's call, the moving plans. He listened, asked questions, promised to be there when the movers came even though she knew he'd probably be dealing with some crisis. After dinner, he pulled out his laptop. I want to show you something. He opened a folder full of documents, property deeds, business licenses, financial statements. This is everything I own, everything I control. I'm showing you because you asked for honesty. Mara scanned the files, her eyes widening. This is millions of dollars. Closer to 50 million, actually. Jesus Christ. Most of it's tied up in investments. Real estate, legitimate businesses, stocks. I've been moving away from the illegal stuff for the last year, trying to go legit. Why? Because I'm tired. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of solving problems with violence. Tired of waiting for the next betrayal. He closed the laptop. I want a normal life. Or as normal as someone like me can have. With me? If you'll let me. She thought about it. About the impossibility of a normal life with a man who had $50 million and enemies who wanted him dead. About the fact that 6 weeks ago she'd been eating ramen for dinner and now she was looking at financial statements that made her head spin. I don't fit in your world, she said quietly. You fit better than anyone I've ever met. I'm a cook, Dante. I work in a kitchen. I don't know anything about business or investments or how to act around people with money. You don't have to. I'm not asking you to change. But I will change. Living here, being with you, it's going to change me. Maybe. But maybe that's not a bad thing. He took her hand. You've spent your whole life struggling, fighting to survive. You deserve to breathe for a while. Let someone take care of you. I don't know how to do that. Then learn. With me. She wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe that this could work. That a poor cook and a mafia boss could build something real. But doubt gnawed at her. What happens when you get tired of me? She asked. When the novelty wears off and you realize I'm just some girl who brought you soup? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I do. He cupped her face. Because you're the first person in 10 years who's looked at me and seen something worth saving. You think I'm going to walk away from that? People walk away all the time. I'm not people, and I don't walk away from things I care about. He kissed her. You're stuck with me, Mara. Better get used to it. She laughed despite herself. You're insane. So you keep saying. So they went to bed early, wrapped around each other, and for the first time in weeks, Mara felt something like peace. It didn't last. 3 days later, she was at Rossi's during lunch rush when 2 men in suits walked in. They didn't look like customers. They looked like cops. Giovanni saw them too. His expression darkened. Can I help you? he asked. The taller one flashed a badge. Detective Morris, Detective Chen, we're looking for Mara Ellis. Mara's heart stopped. She turned off her burner, wiped her hands on her apron. I'm Mara. We'd like to ask you a few questions. About Dante Vale. The kitchen went silent. Every cook, every dishwasher, everyone stopped to listen. I don't know what you're talking about, Mara said. Really? Because we have you on camera entering his building multiple times over the last 2 weeks, and our sources say you're living with him now. I don't have to answer your questions. No, you don't, but it would make things easier. Detective Morris smiled. We're not here to cause problems. We just want to understand your relationship with Mr. Vale. There's nothing to understand. Ms. Ellis, Dante Vale is a dangerous man. He's connected to multiple ongoing investigations. If you're involved with him, you could be putting yourself at risk. I'm fine. Are you? Because from where we're standing, it looks like a young woman with no criminal history suddenly shacked up with one of Chicago's most notorious figures. That raises questions. Giovanni stepped forward. You got a warrant? We don't need a warrant to talk. Then you can talk outside my restaurant. You're scaring my customers. Detective Chen looked around. The lunch crowd was definitely watching now. Conversations died down. Forks suspended halfway to mouths. Fine, Morris said. Ms. Ellis, if you change your mind, here's my card. He set it on the counter. We can offer protection if you need it. I don't need protection. Everyone needs protection from men like Dante Vale. They left. The restaurant slowly returned to normal. Giovanni pulled Mara aside. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You're not fine. You're shaking. She looked at her hands. He was right. It's nothing. Mara, I've known you for 3 years. I know when something's wrong. He lowered his voice. You're really with him? Dante Vale? Yes. He shook his head. That's a dangerous game. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because those detectives aren't wrong. Vale's not a good guy. He's good to me. For now, but men like that, they don't stay good. They turn on you eventually. Not him. You sound like every woman who's ever ended up in the morgue. The words hit like a slap. Mara stepped back. I need to get back to work. Mara, I said I need to work. She spent the rest of her shift in a haze, chopping vegetables with too much force, burning a pan of chicken, snapping at Carlos when he asked if she was okay. When her shift ended, she didn't go home. Didn't go to Dante's. Just walked, aimless, through streets that felt suddenly hostile. The detectives had spooked her, not because of what they'd said, but because they were right. She was playing a dangerous game. Dating a man who solved problems with violence, who had enemies lurking in every shadow, who could drag her into a world she didn't understand. What the hell was she thinking? Her phone rang. Dante, she answered. Hey, where are you? Walking. Needed some air. The detectives came to Rossi's. How did you? I have people watching, making sure you're safe. His voice was tight. What did they say? That you're dangerous. That I should accept their protection. And what did you tell them? That I didn't need it. Silence. Then, do you believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Mara, they're right, aren't they? You are dangerous. This whole thing is dangerous, and I've been pretending it's not because I'm falling for you, and that scares me more than anything else. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. No, I need to think. About what? About whether I can actually do this. Live in your world. Be the person everyone's going to judge and whisper about. The cook who landed a mafia boss. I don't care what people think, but I do. And Giovanni looked at me today like I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. Are you? The question hung between them. Mara stopped walking, pressed her back against a brick wall. I don't know. Then come home. Let's figure it out together. That's not my home, it's yours. It's ours. Or it will be once you stop running from it. I'm not running. Then what are you doing? Good question. What was she doing? Standing on a street corner in the cold, afraid of the thing she wanted most, letting doubt poison something that felt real. I'm being careful, she said finally. Careful is good, but don't be so careful you miss out on something worth having. How do I know it's worth having? You don't. That's the risk. His voice softened. I'm asking you to take a chance on me. On us. And yeah, it's scary. Yeah, there are risks. But I promise you, I will do everything in my power to keep you safe, to make this work. What if it's not enough? Then we'll deal with it when it happens. But don't walk away because you're afraid of what might go wrong. Stay because of what might go right. She closed her eyes, thought about the last 6 weeks, the porridge, the dinners, the nights wrapped in his arms, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered, the way he'd saved her family without being asked, fixed her life because he could. Was she really going to walk away from that because 2 cops had shown up asking questions? Send the car, she said. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. 20 minutes later, she was in the back of the sleek black car, heading north. The driver didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just drove through the city as evening fell, the lights coming on like stars. Dante was waiting at the door when she arrived. He pulled her inside, held her tight enough that she could barely breathe. I thought you were leaving, he said against her hair. I thought about it. What changed your mind? You did. This did. She pulled back to look at him. I'm terrified. But I'm also tired of being alone, tired of struggling, and if I'm going to take a risk on someone, it might as well be you. He kissed her, hard and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. When they broke apart, she said, But we need rules. What kind of rules? If the cops come around again, you tell me what's happening. No hiding, no protecting me from information. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Okay? And if things get dangerous, really dangerous, you don't make decisions for me. We talk about it, and I decide if I'm staying or going. Agreed. And you have to try. To go legit, like you said. I can't be with someone who's constantly looking over his shoulder waiting for the next betrayal. I'm already trying. It's a process, but I'm working on it. Then work faster. A slight smile. Yes, ma'am. They spent that night talking, really talking, about his business, her fears, the future they were trying to build. He showed her security protocols, explained the people he trusted, outlined his plan for transitioning to legitimate operations. It was overwhelming, but it was honest. And honesty, Mara was learning, was worth more than comfort. The move happened the following week. Victoria coordinated everything. Movers, cleaners, utilities. Lena came by to help pack, took one look at Dante's building, and pulled Mara aside. Are you kidding me right now? I know it's a lot. It's a mansion in the richest neighborhood in Chicago. Who the hell is this guy? Someone who can help us. Who wants to help us? Nobody helps for free, Mara. He's not asking for anything. Yet. Lena crossed her arms. What happens when he does? When he decides you owe him for all this? That's not how it works. That's exactly how it works. Men with money always want something. Not him. Lena studied her. You're in love with him. It wasn't a question. Mara didn't deny it. Jesus, Lena muttered. You're really doing this. Yeah, I am, and I'm asking you to trust me. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. If you don't want to move in here, I'll help you find your own place. But I want you here. I want us to be a family again. Lena looked at the apartment, the space, the security, then back at Mara. Fine. I'll try it. But if this guy turns out to be a psycho, I'm blaming you. Deal. They moved in that weekend. Dante gave Lena the room farthest from the master bedroom, set her up with furniture, made sure she had everything she needed. He was careful around her, polite, giving her space to adjust. But Mara saw the way Lena watched him. Suspicious, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It would take time, but time was something they finally had. That night, after Lena had gone to bed, Mara stood at the window looking out at the city. Dante came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking about how different everything is now. Good different or bad different? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year. He kissed her temple. I can wait a year. They stood like that, watching the lights, and Mara let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this impossible thing could work. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She pulled it out, read the text. Her blood went cold. Dante. What? She showed him the screen. We have your sister. Come alone or she dies. Dante's expression went from calm to lethal in half a second. He grabbed the phone from her hand, read the text again, then strode across the room and yanked open Lena's bedroom door. The bed was empty, window open, curtain billowing in the cold November wind. "No," Mara's voice came out strangled. "No, no, no. She was just here. She went to bed an hour ago." Dante was already on his phone. "Marcus? Someone took Lena Ellis from my apartment. I need cameras, street footage, everything in a 5-block radius." He paused. "I don't care what time it is. Do it now." He hung up, turned to Mara. She was shaking, her face white. "They were in here," she whispered. "They got past security, came into our home, took my sister." "Mara, look at me." He gripped her shoulders. "I'm going to get her back. You understand? This is what I do. I will find who did this and I will make them regret ever touching her." The text said, "Come alone." "I'm not sending you into a trap." "Then they'll kill her." "They won't, because whoever sent this wants me, not Lena. She's leverage, which means they'll keep her alive until they get what they want." Another text came through. "Warehouse on Archer Avenue. 1 hour. Just the girl." Mara grabbed her jacket. "I'm going." "Absolutely not." "It says just me. If you show up, they'll kill her. If you show up alone, they'll kill you both." He pulled out his own phone, started typing rapidly. "I'm sending people ahead. They'll set up positions around the warehouse, wait for my signal." "Dante, the text said," "I know what it said, but I'm not gambling with your life." He looked at her, and something in his expression made her stop arguing. "I've lost people before, people I cared about. I'm not losing you. What if this is a trap? What if they're expecting you to send people? Then we'll deal with it, but you're not walking in there alone." She wanted to fight him, wanted to scream that it was her sister, her decision, her risk to take, but the cold certainty in his voice told her she'd lose this argument. "Fine," she said, "but I'm coming with you." "Mara, non-negotiable. That's my sister in there. I'm not sitting here waiting." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Get dressed. Wear dark clothes." 20 minutes later, they were in his car, driving south through empty streets. Dante made call after call, his voice clipped and precise as he coordinated his people. Mara sat beside him, her hands clenched in her lap, trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. "Who do you think did this?" she asked. "Someone with a death wish." His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "My security's airtight. Whoever got past it either had inside help or they're very, very good." "Could it be Isabel's people? Someone looking for revenge?" "Maybe. But Isabel's organization collapsed when she died. Most of her guys scattered or came back to me." "Then who?" "I don't know, but I'll find out." They pulled up 3 blocks from the warehouse. Dante killed the engine, turned to her. "Listen carefully. You're going to stay in the car until I give you the signal. My people are already inside waiting. When you go in, you walk straight to wherever Lena is. You don't engage, you don't argue, you just get her and get out. Understood?" "What are you going to do?" "End this." The certainty in those 2 words sent chills down her spine. He handed her a phone, different from her usual one. "This is a direct line to Marcus. Anything goes wrong, you hit the red button and he'll pull you out." "Dante, promise me. If things go sideways, you get out. Don't try to be a hero." "Same goes for you." A ghost of a smile. "I'm always careful." Liar. He kissed her, hard and desperate. "I love you. I should have said it before now, but I'm saying it now. I love you." Her throat closed. "Don't say it like you're saying goodbye." "I'm not. I'm saying it because you should know." He touched her face. "Wait here. I'll signal when it's time." He got out of the car, disappeared into the shadows. Mara sat there, her heart hammering, watching the warehouse. It was an old brick building, windows dark, surrounded by chain-link fence. The kind of place that had probably been abandoned for years. The kind of place people died in. Her phone buzzed. Text from the unknown number. 5 minutes. Where is she? Mara looked at the time. The hour was almost up. She texted back, "I'm coming. Don't hurt her." No response. She waited. 1 minute, 2. Then her new phone lit up. Text from Marcus. "In position. You're clear." She got out of the car, walked toward the warehouse, every step feeling like a mistake. The fence had a gap cut in it, fresh, like someone had prepared this recently. She slipped through, approached the main door. It was unlocked. Inside, the warehouse was dark except for a single overhead light in the center. And there, tied to a chair directly beneath it, was Lena. Mara started running. "Lena!" "Mara, don't!" Lena's voice was raw. "It's a trap. Get out of here." A figure stepped out of the shadows. Male, tall, wearing a ski mask. He had a gun pointed at Lena's head. "Stop right there," he said. Mara froze. "Let her go. I'm here like you asked." "Where's Vale?" "I came alone. Like you said." "Bullshit. Vale doesn't let his toys out of sight." The man moved closer to Lena, pressed the gun to her temple. "Call him. Tell him to come in or I paint the floor with her brain." "I don't have his number. He doesn't know I'm here." "You're lying." "I'm not. He wanted to come. I told him I'd handle it. Please, just let her go. I'll do whatever you want." The man laughed. "You think this is about what you want? This is about making Vale understand that he doesn't own this city, that there are still people willing to stand up to him. Then take me. Let her go. Take me instead." "Why would I do that when I can have both of you?" Movement in the rafters. Mara caught it in her peripheral vision, a shadow shifting, repositioning, Dante's people getting ready. She needed to keep this guy talking. "Who are you?" she asked. "What did Dante do to you?" "He took everything, my territory, my business, my brother." The man's voice cracked. "Tommy was just a kid, 23 years old. He made a mistake, pushed back when Vale was consolidating, and Vale had him killed." "I'm sorry." "Your sorry means nothing. Neither does Vale's. But watching him lose the woman he loves, that means something. This won't bring your brother back." "No, but it'll hurt Vale the way he hurt me, and that's enough." More movement, this time in the shadows to the left. Someone was circling around. "So what's your plan?" Mara asked, taking a small step forward. "You kill us, Dante kills you, then your family loses another brother. How does that help anyone?" "I don't have family left. Tommy was it. Now it's just me and my rage." "Then you're already dead. You just don't know it yet." The man's hand tightened on the gun. "Shut up. You want to hurt Dante? This isn't how you do it. Killing me just makes him more dangerous, more ruthless. You'll unleash something worse than what you're trying to stop." "I said shut up!" The lights went out. Everything happened at once. Gunfire, muzzle flashes lighting up the warehouse like lightning. Lena screamed. Mara hit the ground, crawled toward where she'd last seen her sister. Hands grabbed her. She fought, kicking and scratching until a familiar voice said, "It's me. It's Marcus. Come on." He dragged her toward the wall as the shooting continued. She could hear Dante's voice, shouting orders, coordinating his people. Another scream cut short. The sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Then silence. The lights came back on. Dante was standing in the center of the warehouse, the masked man at his feet, unconscious or dead. Mara couldn't tell. 3 other men were scattered around the space, Dante's people securing them with zip ties. And Lena was there, freed from the chair, blood on her lip but alive. Mara ran to her sister, wrapped her in a hug so tight she could barely breathe. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" "I'm fine. Scared shitless, but fine." Lena pulled back, looked at Dante. "You came." "Of course I came. They said if anyone but Mara showed up, they'd kill me. They lied." He crossed to them, checked Lena over with a clinical eye. "You need a hospital?" "No, I just want to go home." "Marcus will take you. Mara and I need to handle something first." Mara looked at the man on the floor. "Is he dead?" "Not yet, but he will be." The cold certainty in those words made her stomach turn. "Dante? He came into my home, took someone under my protection, threatened to kill you both." His voice was ice. "There's only one response to that. You can't just execute him. Watch me." "No." She stepped between him and the unconscious man. "No, you're not doing this. Mara, get out of the way. This isn't justice. It's revenge. It's both, and it's necessary." "Why?" "Because he hurt your pride. Because he made you look weak. Because if I let this slide, every other person with a grudge will think they can take shots at me, at you, at anyone I care about." He tried to move past her. "This is how my world works. You know that." "Then change it. You said you wanted to go legit, build something stable. This isn't stable. This is the same cycle of violence that got you shot in the first place." This is different. Is it? Or are you just becoming the thing you're trying to escape? The words hit him like a slap. He stopped, looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. What do you want me to do? He asked quietly. I want you to be better than this. Better than him. She gestured to the man on the floor. He lost his brother, and now he's throwing his life away for revenge. Don't do the same thing. I'm not throwing my life away. You will if you keep solving every problem with a bullet. Eventually, someone's going to be faster, smarter, luckier, and I'll lose you the same way this guy lost his brother. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Marcus. Take him to county. Drop him at the ER. Call the cops anonymously. Tell them he confessed to kidnapping. Marcus blinked. Boss, you heard me. And make sure he understands he gets one pass. If he ever comes near my family again, there won't be a second chance. Yes, sir. They dragged the man out. Dante turned back to Mara. Happy? No, but it's a start. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. You're going to be the death of me. Or the saving of you, depends on how you look at it. They stood like that until Marcus returned with the car. Drove back to the apartment in silence, Lena in the back seat, Mara's hand locked in Dante's. When they got home, Dante had new security installed. Cameras, motion sensors, guards posted outside. He spent 2 hours on the phone, tracking down how the breach had happened, who'd given up their access codes. Mara sat with Lena in the living room, both of them wrapped in blankets, drinking tea that neither of them wanted. I'm sorry, Mara said. This is my fault. If I hadn't gotten involved with him. Stop. This isn't your fault. Lena set down her mug. That guy was unhinged. He would have found some way to get to Dante regardless of you. But he used you to get to me. And I'm fine, scared but fine. And honestly, Lena looked toward the bedroom where Dante was still on the phone. He could have killed that guy. Probably wanted to, but he didn't because you asked him not to. That says something. Says he's trying. Yeah, he is. Lena studied her. You really love him. It wasn't a question. Mara nodded anyway. Then make it work. Because I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at him. I'm terrified. Good. You should be. Love is terrifying. Lena squeezed her hand. But it's also worth it, if you let it be. Dante emerged from the bedroom an hour later. He looked exhausted, the adrenaline finally wearing off, leaving only weariness. It was one of my junior guys, he said. Gave up the security codes for 20 grand. He's been dealt with. Mara didn't ask what that meant, didn't want to know. I'm going to bed, Lena announced, standing. Thanks for not dying, both of you. She disappeared into her room, leaving Mara and Dante alone. Come here, he said. She went to him. Let him wrap her in his arms, let herself feel safe for the first time in hours. I meant what I said earlier, he murmured against her hair. I love you, and I'm going to be better. For you. For us. I love you too, even when you're making me crazy. Especially then. They went to bed, held each other in the dark, and for a long time neither of them slept. The next few months were strange. Dante kept his word. He started transitioning his operations, selling off the illegal ventures, investing in legitimate businesses. It wasn't clean, wasn't easy. There were fights, negotiations, people who pushed back. But he held firm. Mara went back to work at Rossi's, but only part-time now. She'd started taking business classes online, thinking about maybe opening her own restaurant someday. Dante encouraged it, offered to finance it, but she insisted on doing it herself. Building something that was hers, not his. Lena found a job at a nonprofit, helping women escape dangerous situations. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, but she was good at it. Had a way of talking to people who'd been through hell that made them feel seen. Their mother's condition stabilized, then slowly improved. She'd never be healthy again, not really. But she was comfortable, surrounded by people who cared, and that felt like a kind of victory. And through it all, Mara and Dante built something. Not perfect. They fought, disagreed, pushed each other's buttons. But they also laughed, talked, until 3 a.m, learned how to be together without losing themselves. It was messy and complicated, and nothing like the fairy tale people imagined when they looked at them. It was real. 6 months after The Warehouse, Dante proposed. Not with a big production, not in public. Just the two of them in the apartment eating takeout on the couch. when he pulled out a ring and said, "Marry me." Mara stared at the diamond. "Are you serious?" "Completely. We've only been together 8 months. So I knew after 3 weeks. That's insane. You keep saying that like it's going to change my mind." He took her hand. "I want to build a life with you, a real one. Marriage, family, all of it. What do you say?" She should have asked for time, should have thought it through, weighed the pros and cons, been practical. Instead, she said, yes. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony, just family and a few close friends. Lena was maid of honor. Marcus was best man. Giovanni catered, refused to let Dante pay, said it was a wedding gift. Standing at the altar in a dress that cost more than her first car, looking at Dante in his perfectly tailored suit, Mara thought about the girl who'd climbed those stairs with porridge, who'd had no idea that the dying man in 4C would become the center of her entire world. Life was strange like that. One small choice, one act of kindness, and everything changed. "I do," she said when the officiant asked. "I do," Dante echoed. And just like that, the cook and the mafia boss became husband and wife. The reception was at a restaurant Dante had just purchased, one of his new legitimate ventures. As they danced, Mara said, "People are staring. Let them stare. They're probably wondering what you see in me. Then they're idiots." He spun her. "I see someone who saved my life, someone who makes me want to be better, someone who brought me porridge when I had nothing and asked for nothing in return. It was just soup. It was everything." A year later, Mara opened her restaurant. Small place, nothing fancy, 40 seats, simple menu, focus on comfort food done right. Dante helped with the financing despite her protests, but she ran it herself. Hired her own staff, made her own decisions, built something from the ground up. It was terrifying and exhilarating and exactly what she needed. Lena worked there part-time, managing the books. Their mother came for opening night, looking frail but happy, crying when she saw Mara's name on the sign outside. Business was good. Not great at first. Restaurants took time to build a following. But word spread. People came for the food, stayed for the atmosphere, returned because the place felt like home. And through it all, Dante supported her. Showed up for family dinners, helped with dishes when they were short-staffed. Never once made her feel like her dreams were small compared to his empire. He was different now. Still dangerous when he needed to be. Still commanded respect wherever he went. But he smiled more, laughed more, looked at the future like it was something to build, not something to survive. One night, 18 months after the wedding, Mara came home to find Dante sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. "Hey," she said softly. "You okay?" "I saw Isabel's sister today." Mara went still. They never talked about Isabel. It was an unspoken rule. "She came to my office," he continued, "wanted to know why I'd spared her nephew, the kid from the warehouse." "What did you tell her?" "That someone I love taught me there are better ways to handle problems." He looked at her. She said Isabel never understood that. Never understood that power without mercy just creates more enemies. She was right. "I know. And for a long time I was just like her, solving everything with force, never considering there might be another way." He stood, cross to her. "You changed that. Changed me." "I didn't change you. You changed yourself." "Because you made me want to." She kissed him. "I'm proud of you. Even though I'm still cleaning up messes from my old life, especially because of that, it's harder to change than to stay the same." They stood like that, wrapped around each other, and Mara thought about all the ways their lives had shifted. The scared cook and the dying mafia boss, now running a restaurant and a legitimate business empire, building something neither of them had thought possible. A few weeks later, Mara realized she'd missed her period, then missed another one. She bought a test, took it in the bathroom of her restaurant during the lunch rush, stared at the 2 pink lines. She was pregnant. She told Dante that night, just handed him the test, couldn't find words. He looked at it for a long time. Then he sat down, hard, like his legs had stopped working. "Dante?" He was crying, actually crying, tears running down his face, his shoulders shaking. She knelt in front of him. "Hey, talk to me." "I never thought," his voice broke. "I never thought I'd get this. A normal life, a family. After everything I've done, I didn't think I deserved it." "You do deserve it, and you're going to be an amazing father." "What if I'm not?" What if I screw this up like I've screwed up everything else? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what we do. She took his hands. You're not alone anymore, you understand? Whatever happens, we handle it together. He pulled her close, buried his face in her shoulder, and cried like something fundamental had broken loose inside him. All the fear, all the doubt, all the years of believing he was too damaged for this kind of happiness. Mara held him through it. This man who'd been betrayed and shot and left to die, who'd clawed his way back to power through violence and will, who was now falling apart because he was going to be a father. When he finally pulled himself together, he said, I'm going to be better, the best version of myself, for you, for our kid. I know you will. I mean it. No more violence unless there's no other option. No more shortcuts. I'm going to build something our child can be proud of. They'll be proud of you regardless, because I am. He kissed her, gentle and reverent, his hand settling on her still flat stomach. Thank you. For what? For not walking away. For giving me a chance when I didn't deserve one. For bringing me porridge. She laughed, the sound watery. Best bowl of porridge I ever made. Best thing that ever happened to me. The months that followed were strange and beautiful. Mara's restaurant thrived. Dante finished transitioning his empire, walked away from the last of his illegal operations. It cost him money, cost him some relationships, but he did it anyway. Because he'd made a promise, and for the first time in his life, he was determined to keep it. Their daughter was born on a cold February morning, tiny, perfect, with Mara's eyes and Dante's dark hair. They named her Hope, because that's what she represented, the possibility of something better, something clean, something worth protecting. Dante held her for the first time, and Mara watched his face transform. All the hardness, all the walls he'd built over years of violence and betrayal crumbled completely. He looked at that tiny baby like she was the most precious thing in the universe. Hi, he whispered. I'm your dad, and I promise I'm going to do everything in my power to give you a good life, a safe life, better than the one I had. Hope yawned, grabbed his finger with her tiny hand, and Dante lost it again. Tears streaming down his face, his whole body shaking with the weight of this new responsibility. I got you, Mara said softly. We got her. We're going to be fine. He nodded, unable to speak. They brought Hope home to the brownstone. Lena came over, took one look at the baby, and immediately started crying. Their mother visited, held her granddaughter with shaking hands, told stories about when Mara and Lena were small. It was chaotic and exhausting and perfect. Weeks turned into months. Hope grew, started smiling, learned to recognize voices. Dante was a natural with her, patient, gentle, completely devoted. He rearranged his entire schedule around feedings and naps, turned down meetings because he didn't want to miss a moment. Mara watched him change in real time, watched him become the man he'd always wanted to be, the person who'd been buried under years of survival and violence. One night, when Hope was 6 months old, Mara found Dante in the nursery at 2 a.m. He was sitting in the rocking chair, the baby asleep on his chest, just staring at her. Can't sleep? Mara asked from the doorway. I keep thinking about how different my life could have been. If you hadn't found me. If you'd walked past that apartment and kept going. But I didn't. No, you didn't. He looked at her. You saved me. In every way a person can be saved. And I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't have to thank me. You just have to be here. Be present. Be the man I know you are. I'm trying. I know, and you're doing great. He stood carefully, put Hope back in her crib. Then he crossed to Mara, pulled her close. I used to think kindness was weakness, he said, that caring about people made you vulnerable. And then you showed up with a bowl of porridge and proved me wrong. It was just soup. It was proof that good people still exist, that sometimes strangers help each other for no reason except it's the right thing to do. He kissed her forehead. You gave me back my humanity, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that gift. They stood in the nursery, watching their daughter sleep, and Mara thought about the strange path that had brought them here. The debt, the violence, the fear. The small choices that had snowballed into this life they'd built. She thought about the lessons she'd learned, that kindness wasn't weakness, that people could change if they wanted to badly enough, that love was worth the risk even when it was terrifying. And she thought about hope, sleeping peacefully in her crib, completely unaware that her parents' love story had started with betrayal and blood in a bowl of porridge in an abandoned apartment. Maybe someday they'd tell her. When she was older, when she could understand that life was complicated and messy, and people were capable of both terrible things and tremendous growth. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd just give her the edited version. Mom and Dad met, fell in love, built a life together. Either way, she'd know she was loved. Fiercely, completely, without reservation. And that, Mara thought, was enough. Because at the end of the day, that's what mattered. Not where you started, but where you ended up. Not the mistakes you made, but the effort you put into becoming better. Dante had been a monster once. A man who solved problems with violence, who trusted no one, who believed he was beyond redemption. Now he was a husband, a father, a legitimate businessman trying to build something good. The transformation wasn't complete. Probably never would be. He still had rough edges, still made mistakes, still struggled with the darkness that lived inside him. But he was trying. Every single day, he was trying. And that, more than anything, was what love looked like in the real world. Not perfection, not fairy tales. Just two broken people choosing each other over and over, despite the mess and the fear and the uncertainty. Mara looked at Dante, then at Hope, then back at Dante. "We did good," she said. He smiled. "Yeah, we really did." And in that moment, standing in a nursery in a brownstone they'd turned into a home, with their daughter sleeping peacefully and the city lights glowing beyond the window, Mara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the name they'd given their daughter, though that was part of it, but real, bone-deep hope that the future could be better than the past, that broken things could be repaired, that kindness, given freely and without expectation, could change the course of a life. She'd brought a dying man porridge, and he'd given her a family. She'd saved his life, and he'd saved hers right back. And together, they'd built something worth having, something worth fighting for, something real.